Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim. We talk about horror movies on this show, and on this episode we are going to continue a franchise which we are working our way through gradually up until October, when a new film, a new entry in that franchise is going to be released. So this is going to be about Child's Play 3, which is the third in the Chucky series. Are you excited, Tim?
Yeah.
Tim's excited. Glad we checked. I'm glad we looked into that. He sounds excited. Can't mistake that. Look at him, he's beside himself. So this is the last one. It's called Child's Play. We'll start spoiler free. At least for a little bit. I mean, we'll probably do a lot of non-spoiler stuff in this. I feel like it's an old movie, and you know how much is there to spoil.
Give general thoughts.
And we'll give you some warning. We'll get into some spoilers, and we'll talk about it. So we obviously like the first Child's Play. We both really like the second one, actually. We both like that more even than the first one. A rare occasion where we both agree, at least with, like, because I feel like some people wouldn't like the second one more. I feel like maybe the first one is usually seen as the best of at least the original batch.
Yeah.
Whereas
I feel like I don't hear enough people talk about Child's Play enough to get like kind of a consensus. Like I definitely know people that like it, but I don't know people that really talk about it like the way they do Friday or Nightmare.
That's true. But yeah, so we're going to talk about it. So this is the last one. It's called Child's Play. It's also the last one that has Andy in it. At least from my memory. Maybe when we watch Bride of Chucky, there'll be an Andy cameo, or there'll be a reference to him that I've forgotten. But
there is a cameo in another one, but I'm not going to say which one or where because it's a little spoilerish. But
sure.
We'll get there.
Yeah. So not Bride of Chucky. Sorry, Child's Play 3. So where are we left off in this one? So the whole movie is basically set at a military school, which is where Andy is. Andy's now a teenager, and he's played by what's his name, Justin Whalen, who is actually the second Jimmy Olsen from Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman. If you're familiar with that show, which I am. I recognise him the second I seen him, and that's that's kind of the first problem. Is he's not a great actor. Like he's kind of weak as a leading man. Whereas before, I mean, obviously Andy was a kid, and you kind of got away with him. You know, he's a kid, but it was kind of the people around him. It was kind of the general fear of, like, someone getting to him and people not believing him because he's a kid. It was a big part of those movies. The first two.
Wait, so it's a completely different actor?
Yes.
Okay.
Tim, this was made like a year after Child's Play 2.
I don't know. I didn't look at the dates.
Let me check. 1991. Yeah, this was 1 year exactly after Child's Play 2.
Really? It's that early?
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of surprised. I always felt like it was a little, like, not like, wasn't made in 2000 or anything, but I would have guessed more like mid 90s.
No, I mean, technically this is a film set in the future, because clearly at least 7 years must have passed, maybe 9 years since the last one, given the age of Andy. So technically this movie's set in the early 2000s.
That explains a lot.
Or the late 90s. So but yeah, so he goes to military school, and he does this asshole sort of like the student who's in charge of the rest of the students. Like he's a complete dickhead. He makes kind of a friend, there's a love interest that he kind of like gets involved with, and she's kind of fun character. Actually, honestly, some of the other characters are actually much more entertaining than him. He's kind of this bland guy in the middle where the girl's actually kind of got a character, and she's got a fun personality. The best friend's kind of the dweeb. The little kid who's there, Tyler, he's kind of he's a nice innocent kid.
See, I think it could have been good if they like felt more like a group, but it seems like you don't really get a lot of the other characters. Like it seems like it's mostly Andy kind of like running between other characters, trying to do his own thing.
I think that would have benefited the movie. And I don't want to start off by sounding negative though, because I actually I liked this more than I remembered I did on this viewing. I think it's actually decent. It's a pretty decent movie. It's definitely the weakest of the first three. Like, I'd say it's weaker than the first two, but there is kills that I really like. I like Chucky for most of his, times that he pops up. And I do kind of actually like the setting for the most part. Like I say, it would be better if the characters kind of a better actor for Andy, and then if the characters actually became more of a group, and work together at points in the movie, that would have probably made just putting it over the edge. But there's a lot of fun stuff in this that I really like. There's a really creepy barber, like the military barber, who basically is like getting off and making sex noises as he's cutting, young boys' hair. He's like, oh, that's good stuff, yeah.
He has like a weird hair fetish.
Yeah,
to the point where he's just going through the cafeteria, like grabbing people's hair.
Yeah, he's like feeling the heads and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's explaining to Andy that the reason why they have like the military haircuts is so people can't like grab it from behind and like slit your throat. And he actually sort of like acts the whole thing out. And it's like, yeah, this isn't creepy at all. And I think the thing with Andy's character here is that I think they went the worst possible route they could have went with what he's like now. I feel like he should have been more brave after the first two movies, where he feels it's such a sort of he's not a dweeb by any means, like he's not, but he's just kind of shell shocked the whole time. Because a lot of the movie, like, I don't think this is much of a spoiler to say that Chucky kind of like latches on to the younger kid Tyler, and he sort of goes after him instead once he gets to the military school. And I actually think it's actually quite a good idea that Andy's like not trying to save himself anymore. He feels responsible and he wants to try and save this other kid. I actually think that's a really smart thing to do. It's just that he never really feels like he's strong enough to really feel like a strong protagonist to actually go and make that choice. Like if he had more attitude with the antagonist, with what's his name, Shelton, the
bully kind of guy,
the bully commander guy, yeah. Like if he actually stood up to him a bit more instead of just kind of like letting everything happen, it would, because it feels very unrealistic, because it's like he doesn't care about the bully, but at the same time he never really does anything to stop any of it happening. It still just keeps happening to him.
Yeah,
it's kind of this weird thing.
Especially with the setting, you kind of expect what the story's going to be, is that he is this like kind of freaked out, shell-shocked kind of guy, and he's in this very masculine, manly place where he doesn't fit in, he's getting picked on, and then the story you think would be him like overcoming and becoming like a total badass at the end, but it doesn't really happen. Like there are some other characters that get cool moments, but not really him.
He doesn't have an arc. He's the exact same at the end of the movie that he is at the start. It's kind of weird, but yeah. So there's some fun kills. I like some of the other characters, and I like some of the setup. I actually really like the opening. The opening, like 5-10 minutes. Where it's like, well, you see the opening title sequence of Chucky like getting remade from the because blood and stuff is all in the mold, so they make a new doll, but because it's still him, technically it's it's whatever, whatever brings them back, it's fine. But it's like the evil like CEO of the company who's like, I don't care what happened to that Andy kid. Let's start selling Chuckies again, or good guy dolls. And I thought it was a really fun sequence of him and his like his fancy penthouse. And like Chucky's like using all these toys that he's got, because he's he's a toy businessman, so he's got all these like prototypes and stuff lying around and whatnot. And I thought that was a fun sequence. That felt super goofy and stuff, which was cool.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to spoilers. I feel like I want to start talking about actual plot details and stuff.
I'd say before we go in, just my kind of quick 2 cents is that I like it as well. I was actually kind of excited to watch it again because I hadn't seen it in a while, but I think it was the one that like stuck out in my head the most, because I feel like this one was on TV a lot when I was a kid. Like like one of the, I don't know, just like a movie that might have showed on like TBS or something a lot. For whatever reason, it sticks out in my head, and watching it, it definitely is not my favorite of this first original 3 movies, but it's still fun. It never dips like that low quality wise.
Yeah, it's got its problems, but it's definitely not a bad time to get through, and like it's not like when I rewatch the franchise, I'm game to watch it again. Like it's fun enough. It's nice and short. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's just I don't think it's as fun as 2, and like we say, the main character not having any kind of like arc, which was kind of fine in the first 2 movies to a point because he's a kid, but here it's just kind of weird that he never really grows or anything. It's weird.
Yeah, I would say Andy's a little disappointing in this, but Chucky is actually a lot of fun.
He's great.
And I mean, I guess he's been great in like both movies, so it's not like that's a big change or anything. But it's refreshing to have someone that's like always entertaining when he's on screen.
Yeah, and I think talking about how we're saying the movie would benefit if it felt like the characters we liked, the students all kind of banded together, and maybe that's too Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors style, but like that would have made it truly different and interesting from the first two, where he's got like comrades now. He's got like, I mean, sure, he had the big sister in the last movie, but it'd have been interesting to like, no, he's got a team. Like they're going to try and stop this together, but instead stuff just happens and they don't really acknowledge stuff is happening until it's already in the third act, and it's too late to like form a team to like deal with something. But anyway,
that's a one part. Skipping ahead a little bit, but it's another problem that I had in like the second movie as well, where there's a very clear scene where he's like in the room with Chucky and he just lets someone like take it out there. Like I know the other dude's a bully and stuff, but when this is like a psycho doll that's gonna kill people, wouldn't he be like, hey, I don't care if you're gonna kick my ass, I'm gonna jump over there, grab that doll and rip it apart?
Yeah, here that's fair, but in two he was still a little kid. Like I get why he couldn't.
True, yeah, but like still, like I would have, like pleaded with my parent, like please, like I swear I'll do anything, just cut that doll up.
Because I think that's maybe another thing that they didn't explore enough, is the idea that, oh, now he's not a little kid, so now, like, maybe they'll think he's crazy, but they can't just dismiss it in the same way that you can just dismiss like an 8-year-old who's telling the doll's coming alive and killing people. So yeah, full spoilers. Let's go into spoilers. So full spoilers from this point on for Child's Play 3. So yeah, I really liked the opening kill with the evil businessman. That was really good stuff. Chucky just searches on the guy's computer and finds that Andy's a military school. I don't know where he went to get that information, how easy that was.
The only justification I would have for that is in the board meeting, they are talking about the Andy kid, and since he caused so much trouble for the company, maybe they have like some file folder on him, but it's a little bit of a stretch.
So we get to the military school, we meet this creepy barber. His death's pretty cool, actually. So he finds the Chucky doll after he's been like shaving more heads, because that's what he likes to do, and he he says to Chucky, it's kind of weird, so he's so into cutting hair, he's like, oh, I'm going to practice on this doll when no one else is here. He's like, that hair's not regulation.
Yeah, there's definitely got to be some like fetish component or something to it, because if you're at the point where you're like, oh, anything I see with hair I need to cut, there's something deeper in there.
Well, even when he's on his own, he's constantly like tweezing his nostrils and so on. It's just the whole thing. But Chucky uses the old school razor blade to like cut the guy's throat, and it's an okay effect. I did think the blood was a little bit lacking, for the cut that it was.
Yeah.
Like there was blood at first, and then I felt like it stopped pouring. I'm like, nah, it would keep, like, if you cut the throat like that, it's going to keep coming.
I kind of expect it almost to like spray out or something.
Yeah, at the very least, just keep leaking out, like kind of thing. But so that
maybe all the blood was in his boner from cutting hair.
I like that when the head of the school like tries to throw Chucky out. He yells for help, and the garbage man, because he gets thrown into the garbage truck, and he's about to get crushed, and he yells for help, and the garbage man, being a nice person, hears someone, and he's like, oh, someone's in there, I'm sorry, and he tries to find them, and then Chucky sneaks out and crushes him in the truck.
That's one of the things I like about Chucky is he could easily probably just sneak around a lot of this, or lay low and then like move around when people aren't paying attention, but he like wants to kill. Like it's not just good enough.
He likes to kill too much, and that's actually one of my like plot hole moments here, is that no one, like, I mean, the kids find like this body, right, and like, oh, this person's dead, but after this scene no one ever mentions it again. Like no one's acknowledging this is a lot of deaths. Like, I mean, I guess Andy does, because he's suspecting that Chucky's doing it, but like, actually I thought it was really funny how he goes to kill the head of the school, but the guy has a heart attack from the shock of seeing Chucky.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, oh, come on, I wanted to kill him. Like, oh, that was pretty funny. But like no one's acknowledging, like, so garbage guy gets crushed, then the head of the school has a heart attack, and then, I mean, I know they go out to the sort of overnight like war games thing for the last act of the movie, but like no one found the barber like lying with his throat slit in the barber shop.
Yeah, there had to have been someone looking for these people, or
Yeah, I was getting ready to complain actually because after that death, it cuts to like them outside getting told like, okay, right, we're going to do this thing overnight. Red vs blues, blah 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 blah. And I thought, wait, we're just going to cut to a new scene. No one's going to like find the body. Now, to be fair, Whitehurst who's seen this, which by the way, Chucky just saying boo. Like he gets caught red-handed, he's like boo, and then like Whitehurst just bolts. But to be fair, Whitehurst does come out, so it establishes that he just came straight from there, like so no one would know yet. And then apparently they go straight out from there, so they never find stuff. So that's kind of set up. So yeah, Andy bonds with the girl. What's her name? De Silva, who likes him, kind of stands up for him a little bit, and they kind of bond. And when they eventually kiss, Chucky sees it and he uses her as bait to try and get Andy to like come and like give him the kid and whatnot at the end. I will say this: the movie gets oddly kind of dark with one of its setups because they're going out in this red v blue thing, and they've been given rifles with like paint pellets in them, and Chucky replaces the paint pellets in some of the guns with real bullets. And I couldn't help but thinking like this is actually really dark. So like I feel like if you were doing a movie like this now, you'd probably avoid that.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Because it gets to this point where Chucky's set it up so that the other team come for the blue team whilst they're coming to see him, and like this firefight breaks out, and the bully character gets shot in the chest by one of the other kids, and I couldn't help but feel like, yeah, today they wouldn't make a movie where one kid accidentally shoots another kid. Like,
no, and
just in a post Columbine and everything else since then world, like nah, like we wouldn't have this now.
Yeah, that scene is it's a little harder to watch with modern eyes, which it kind of sucks because I like whenever Chucky is doing any of this military kind of stuff, like seeing him with a grenade, like I thought was really funny.
Oh, that was good. Yeah.
And so like anything where he's doing the military, kind of having these like big weapons or whatever, I think is fun. But then seeing just other students killing, even if it's like by accident, other students, it just gives like a weird feeling.
It does. I mean, obviously after he goes down, I mean, it takes a little bit too long, I think, for them to realize that they're firing real bullets and stop. But like you see the kid's face who just shot him, and he's looking at the gun like, what the hell? And he makes everyone stop firing. Like it quickly like changes, but and then Whitehurst gets his heroic little moment where he jumps in the grenade because he's been such a dweeb that he saw someone be murdered and he's still not mentioned it. Like he's went all day having this like the barber guy with his slit throat in his head all day, and he's still not mentioned it to anyone.
And it's great that it's like he gets like his own little arc, but Andy doesn't really.
Andy does not. So the final of the movie is basically Chucky gets Tyler and takes him to this little fairground that's nearby, and Andy and De Silva follow him there and try to get to them, and Chucky kills a guard at the fairground, and Andy and De Silva get the guy's gun from him, and the end of the movie all takes place in this like haunted mansion, right? It was like the Devil's Lair or something like that was called. And there's fake the paper fire, and there's like smoke machines and all that, which reminded me a lot of the end of Beverly Hills Cop 3 of all things. I don't know if you remember how that movie ended. The entire final takes place in like a ride in the amusement park.
I've never seen any Beverly Hills Cops movies.
That's a little bit weird. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So it's just weird that the third parts of both of those franchises decide to end in the same way. And this section's okay. Like, I think this is another part of the movie where it maybe falls down a little bit. I like almost every Chucky scene before this. I liked a lot. I like that De Silva's helping. Like I say, I wish they went for more of a team and had like Whitehurst and Tyler, like the four of them actually being a group that worked together at some point to try and like deal with things. But I liked that she was working with them.
I find it. I like the setting, but it does also seem a little weird that you have a very distinct setting at this military school where the majority of the movie takes place, and then all of a sudden it kind of shifts to this like carnival that really there hadn't really been any other mention or alluded to throughout the rest of the movie.
Well, you
like,
see it. You see it before because she takes him there to kiss him. Like that happens maybe.
Oh yeah.
That's like 15 minutes before we end up there for the end. But it is at least acknowledged that there's a fairground nearby, so you know it's coming up again. You know they're going to go there by the end of the movie. I do agree it's kind of weird because like you have this unique setting of the military school. You feel like maybe it would have gravitated back towards that, and maybe like I don't know, maybe like it could get strategical.
Yeah.
Like that'd actually be kind of fun. Like if the group did work together. And again, this is maybe me wanting the Dream Warriors version of Chucky with the teenagers all banding together. But I think certainly this whole final sequence in the haunted ride is definitely not as fun as the end of Child's Play 2 in the factory.
Oh no.
That factory scene, it's much more elaborate. There's a lot more fun ideas in it, but it really feels like the Terminator. It feels like, like Terminator chasing Sarah Connor at the end of that movie, like through the factory. It really has that kind of feel to it, but in a more fun kind of like, upbeat Chucky kind of way. Whereas here, it just kind of feels muddled. It feels like it's trying to do creepy stuff, but it's not quite working. I think going back to the school would have been a much wiser choice, but have it be empty and have, maybe more bodies around for casualties potentially if Chucky, starts lobbying. Like, what if Chucky actually did start using like guns? Like, what would that have been a way to go for the ending of this, where he actually, it was like the end of Commando, where Chucky straps like bullets to his chest and he like I don't know.
That would have actually been pretty cool. Like if he finds like an armory room or something, and actually though, now that I'm thinking about like it's just a military school. It's not the military. Would they really have?
They have that room full of rifles with real bullets. So they have that at least. And apparently someone has a grenade because Chucky has a grenade.
That's what's that's what I find a little more odd. But
maybe it's a military school that actually is connected to an actual like base or to some extent. And maybe because there's a lot of actual soldiers like walking around for a lot of the movie. Because there's that moment where the De Silva and her friend, when they're sneaking around the the head guy's office, the admiral, that. They put lipstick on Chucky, and after they leave, it like the camera comes into him, and he's like, "This means war," and I'm like, I almost wish it kind of like it delivered on that. Like maybe he actually brought, like he tried to like kill them all. Like if he actually went ballistic and started like just offing them left and right.
Yeah, that would have actually been pretty cool, and then that could have given like. Andy and his friends, they kind of come together, and then maybe he kind of becomes like the badass leader.
Yeah,
and then,
if the four of the friends like became aware of Chucky's like threat earlier on, and they decided to try and solve it and work against it, and everyone else didn't, it just ignored them, didn't believe them, and they had to try and like plan for his attack and actually use the military setting to turn it into like a kind of fun, use that as part of the plot. Like that'd have been fun.
Yeah.
But, I think what we're saying here is that the movie has a lot of good elements, right? But it does like fall short in a couple of key places, and as you can see from us talking, there's a lot of potential for all these different ideas, and it never fully realizes them, which is a shame. So there you go. That's kind of the thing. This movie's directed by Jack Bender. I kind of chuckled to myself when I saw the name coming up. You're probably saying, who's Jack Bender? Jack Bender's a big TV director. He directed a lot of the big episodes of Lost. Which, were actually really well directed. So I know he has, he's got some skill. Maybe the TV setting just suits him more, but it was just amusing. I saw his name and I went, oh, I know that. I know that guy. He did Child's Play 3. How amusing.
Well, we didn't really talk yet about how Chucky dies.
Yeah, he's knocked Andy off the sort of cliff, I guess I'll call it. It's in the ride still, and basically there's this big fan that is like blowing all the paper fire, and like Andy's like hanging off the ledge. Tyler's around his neck or like dangling from his feet or whatever, and like, Chucky's like trying to like hold on and like kill him and all sorts. Actually, no, is Tyler above Chucky? I can't remember.
I think well, at first, like Tyler's kind of like atop whatever this mountain thing or whatever is, and Chucky's up there, doing his thing, trying to transfer his soul.
Oh yeah, he's still doing the whole ritual. Which, by the way, did the first movie not make it explicitly clear that it had to be Andy because he's the first one who saw him?
So here's what I think happened with that. Is because like he kind of has like a new body.
I see where you're going. Okay.
That was my kind of thought, because you do see he reveals himself to Tyler first in his new form or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not complaining, but it just like the first movie was very very clear on this point. But yeah, that's fair. So it becomes this cliffhanger moment, and eventually, of course, Chucky gets his hand cut off, and he falls into the big fan, and he just kind of explodes into pieces.
Yeah,
it's a fun death.
Yeah, it's not bad. It does feel.
It's not as elaborate as Child's Play 2.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. Even the first movie, I thought really like heightened like the amount of damage and stuff he takes, to the point where in the first and second movie, where he ends up becoming this kind of like crazed, mangled figure, but it's like still unstoppable.
Again, I felt like the Terminator. Like he just kept coming.
Yeah.
Like it had that kind of feeling to it, in a more goofy way, of course, but it felt like the Terminator. Whereas here it was just kind of he falls into the pit and dies. That was kind of it. Actually, I want to talk about the ending, because the ending I think is a really weird beat. It's a really weird missed. Like it's kind of depressing. So they defeat Chucky, and then it ends really quickly. Like De Silva's been shot in the leg by Chucky, and she's going in the ambulance, and she's like, "You're going to be okay, Andy." And he's like, "Yeah." And the cop takes him away and puts him in the car. Cop takes him away and puts him in the car, and all he said to her before he went away was, "I've been here before. It'll be okay." And the car drives off, and the camera pulls back, and it's the end of the movie. And I'm like, that's actually really depressing. Like they already talked about a lot in the movie about how no one believes him, and like no one in the authorities seen any of this, and I feel like they're just going to assume he killed people and sent him to prison after this, or a mental asylum. Like I feel like there's no happy ending here. It just feels really depressing, and like she believes him obviously, but like and like I said, this goes back to there being no growth. It feels like he's in the exact same place he was at the start, where everyone just thinks he's weird and possibly a killer, and and at the end of the movie it's like, well, give him a light at the end of the tunnel. Like have like evidence of like Chucky actually doing this, to maybe like give him the because at least in the first and second movie he's a kid, so they kind of like let it go, and the end of the second movie leaves it kind of open ended. But this one, it just kind of feels like, no, he's screwed. Like they're going to either think he killed people or that he's just crazy anyway and send him to a hospital. Like that's it. He's got no happy ending. Cat, what are you doing? Stop it.
It's definitely a bummer. Which I mean, there's probably stuff you can say where it's like, oh yeah, maybe there'll be a couple of people that can corroborate his story, and maybe they won't have enough evidence or something, but the ending doesn't really give any indication of it. It's just like, yeah, he's being driven away in the back of a police car, and you don't really know what's going to happen. And
that's
it's like, that is sad.
He's arrested. That's it. Like, it's over. And it's kind of a shame. Like, I feel like after all this time, he kind of deserves a little happy ending.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
It's a shame. Like, just have it implied that for some reason they know. And now the cat's kicking my screen. Firefly, you're being a complete menace. Hold on, I'll be back in 1 second. Entertain people, Tim.
So, how are you doing, Internet? I hope you're enjoying this discussion of Child's Play 3.
Look at this. Look at this. He's kicked things all over the place. This is absolute nonsense. Oh, Jesus. Right, there we go. Kinda.
We need one of those like technical difficulties signs.
Oh yeah, we need a standby screen. What was I saying, Tim? I was saying some magnificent point before that rude feline interrupted.
I was just talking about how depressing the ending is, and that Andy's probably going to prison.
Oh yes, of course. Shame. Real shame. Like, you couldn't have hinted that something like maybe him and De Silva will be in a happy couple now, and he can leave all this behind him. Since the movies kind of leave Andy after this and go and do their own thing. So I don't know. But here we are. So that I guess that wraps up Child's Play 3. We can do some ratings if you would like, Tim. Yeah. Would you like to rate this out of the 10 point system?
You mean like we've done every episode? Sure, let's keep doing it. I think I'm gonna give this a 6.5. It might sound a little harsh, but because I do enjoy it. It's solid, but I don't think it's just slightly shy of a 7.
I don't think it's harsh at all, but I'm giving it a 6, so you're actually higher than I am. And I don't think I'm being cruel to giving it a 6. I think I'm saying, there's stuff to enjoy, but it's definitely got its flaws. There's things that it doesn't really capitalize on, and there's some weird elements to it. So give it a 6. And if I remember correctly, I think the first one I gave a 7, and the second one I gave a 7.5. So then this is a 6. So,
Yeah, I feel like I was slightly above. The first one I think I either gave a 7 or a 7.5, and then the second one maybe an 8, maybe that high.
I think you did.
Around that area, yeah.
There you go. So that's Child's Play 3. Of course, we'll be getting to the next one sometime within the next month, maybe 3 weeks, something like that. I have no idea. There's a schedule, but I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not telling you when. Besides, everything's subject to change, which is why I don't like to tell you what's coming next, because we might change our minds, and we can do that if I've not told you what's coming next, so that's okay. But that is Child's Play 3. So let us know what you think of Child's Play 3 in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. You can support the channel by going over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv, which supports Screams After Midnight, but also supports everything else we do here if you like any of the other content. But there's some Screams bonuses in there if you want to. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching scary movies, guys, and we will see you next time.